Welcome everyone, welcome to the Lifebook Creativity and Wellbeing Summit, hosted by me, Tamara Laporte, and welcome to my very first, or the very first, art and wellbeing activity. Before I'm going to explain what we're going to do for my session today, I have laid out a couple of items here that I just wanted to talk to you about that can enhance, I think, your creative process or your being present in the moment. And also I wanted to talk to you about the type of paper and some of the supplies I'll be working with. So before I do that, I just, you may have noticed that I have laid out a couple of crystals. I don't tend to lay them out on top of my paper. They tend to lay in front of me. So what I like doing sometimes before I start a creative session is I like to take some items that are special to me or sacred to me, such as crystals. You do not have to use these, of course. You can use any other items that are special to you. You may have incense sticks, or you may have a candle, or something that you helps you take a couple of moments and to focus and ground into the moment. So for me, I love the beauty of crystals and their energy and how they they tend to help me calm down. I'm a very hyper fast-paced person, in my head mostly, and not so much physically, but in my head I'm very kind of hyper and very busy, and so items such as crystals have this kind of calming presence for me. So I like to create little altars in front of my, or nearby my art desk, and I place them in front of me so that they help me kind of ground and stay present. So I just wanted to share that with you as a possible suggestion to how you might help yourself become present and in the moment. And then I've also grabbed a couple of my oracle cards, and these come in, the oracle cards come in all sorts of forms. And what I like to do is part of that little sacred ritual before I start on my art process or session, I may pull a card for myself. So I take a moment and become really still, shuffle my cards and pull one card just to see if there's any guidance or wisdom in what this card might be telling me. So for instance, here I've pulled the card Ostara, and it's the card of fertility. Now, I don't think I'm pregnant, nor am I planning on getting pregnant, but actually it's not just literally. This is actually talking about it's the perfect time for you to start new projects, access new ideas, and give birth to new conditions. So it could be very literal, or it could be very more symbolic. And this is obviously kind of very applicable because we have just started the summit. So for me, it's kind of almost like an affirmation of, yes, we're doing great new things. And so I'm just giving you an example of how I might choose a card and then ruminate on it for a little while, and then I will place the card near my sacred my sort of little altar with the crystals, and then I have that as a focus of my session or feel supported through that. I have already also pulled these cards, but these were pulled deliberately, and I kind of brought them out because I wanted these to be setting the tone and the energy of the summit. So this is Sarasvati, the goddess of the arts. And this is about express yourself through creative activities, which is obviously what we're going to be doing throughout this summit. And then I have the goddess of peace, her name is Irene. And what I like is I'd like our activities on this summit to really bring us more peace of mind and more peace of soul. So that's why I like to bring in this card. And then we also have the goddess of compassion, Kuan Yin, who I like to bring in and have as a guiding energy of the summit as well, because sometimes we can be so hard on ourselves, and when we create as well, our inner critic likes to come back up and tell us everything that is wrong with ourselves. And so I would like for us to bring in our compassionate higher self, I'd say a higher self, the higher compassionate self that can help guide us through this summit and helps us release judgments about ourselves and others and focuses on the love and light that is within everyone. So these are my 3 cards that I'd like to use as guiding lights and guiding energies for the summit. So anyway, this is actually something that I want to do for the summit, but then for my own process, like I just showed you, I like to pull 1 or 3 cards sometimes and have them guide me throughout my own personal session in that moment. So just an example of how you might like to take a moment and center and ground before you start your creative process. Okay, so now I have laid out some of my art journals here. And I also have a watercolor pad behind these journals here, which is actually what I'm going to be working on. I'll be working on this piece of paper today, but I wanted to show you that you can also work in journals if you want. So I love working in journals particularly for doing creativity. And I find all art creation helps me self-connect and become more closely connected to myself in the moment, more present and more grounded. And in the journals, I love that it's this real safe space to explore your creativity as well as your thinking and words and writing and poetry and everything else that might be going on for you in that moment in time. I'm going to be working on this page, a large page, however, today, and I will also include words and writing, but I wanted to just show you that you can basically work in whichever format you like to work in. Yeah. So these journals, I have a couple laid out, but you don't have to use this exact journal either. There are many kind of good journals out there. The one thing I will say is that it's good to work on heavyweight watercolor paper if you can. So this is 140 pounds or 300 GSM of watercolor paper, and I like using hot pressed, but cold pressed or other type pressed is also fine. And I kind of just wanted to talk to you about and show you how the combination of writing and art works quite well for me personally, and you could take a similar approach. And how I often work is that I become present, much like we've just done in the meditation before this session. So I like to first become really present to what is alive in me. These are the term I use. Alive in me, so wherever I'm at, be it sad, be it happy, be it neutral, it doesn't matter, as long as I'm present to what is there for me, really in the now, very mindfully. And then I like to, this is coincidentally a stylized self-portrait, but it doesn't have to be a self-portrait at all. We can be playing with all sorts of either colors or paint or abstract, or it doesn't matter what you create. But the idea is that you're creating in conversation with yourself and with what's happening and in response to what is alive in you. So this can be through words, this can be through color, shape. I like to often work on myself, self-portrait, because I find it quite healing personally to work on my own face and to add little sparkles and doodles and things to it. It personally feels like a very loving exercise. However, I also create whimsical creatures, and like you can see in here, and I play with, let's have a look, these are all sketches that I haven't finished. So I'll play with like splatters and what else have I done in this one? Or I add symbols to it. This was created during the eclipse, and the moon kept coming up. So it's a time for you to really listen to what's happening for you. And you can see here that I add words and I write. Sometimes I write lyrics, sometimes I write what's happening, what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking, what I'm needing. So this I just wanted to show you some of the ways I use these journal pages for my own expression and my own kind of self-connection. I often add animals, so there's be animal medicine or animal wisdom that I like to bring in, and they sort of act as guiding, supporting, loving characters to me. Oh, I haven't finished. I forgot I'd started this one. It's not finished. I just kind of basically wanted to show you that you can work in any kind of journal that you want to work in. Oh, this one is falling apart a little bit. Any kind of journal that you want to work in, and it doesn't have to be a journal. So you can also work on smaller size. So this is the large one will be 16 by 12. Is that right? 12 by 16, yeah. This is a 9 by 12, and this is a 5 by 7. Whatever size suits you is what I suggest you work on. Okay, so for my session today. So for this, in case you're wondering, this is a watercolour pad. Watercolour pad, that is where the pages are stuck together and then you cut them off later on. So this is by Saunders and Waterford. It's £140 or 300 GM, and it's hot pressed. I like hot pressed, but you do not have to use it to hot pressed. You also don't have to use this particular brand. It's just a favourite brand of mine and some people really like it. Okay, so what I wanted to do for our session today is I would like to create a whimsical elephant with you. Who I have a real association with elephants being very wise. And so all the elephants often pop up in my work, or less so in the last couple of years. It's been more deer. But elephants are very important to me. I used to collect statues of them, endless amounts of statues. I love elephants. And I find them just to have a very strong, wise, calm presence. And they're also not too complicated to create. And what I'd like us to do, so I'm going to demonstrate how I draw and paint this elephant. I'd like us to have a little think about what it is that you need for right now in this moment, or for the next 2 weeks, which for the duration of the summit. What would support you most, and what would help you to be basically as supported and as loved as you need to be in the next 2 weeks. So I'd like us kind of to set an intention around how we can be most self-loving and self-supportive as possible during the next 2 weeks. And then we can take a moment and imagine that this elephant is a wise character and what it would tell us to help us. What would it tell you? What would it say if you asked it, how can I support myself best? So just to give you an example of what I mean. So in the last couple of months, I've been going through some really rough, difficult experiences that I found very difficult to deal with. And I have a tendency in my life, and I'm still working on this, or I've been working on this for a very long time in my life, but when things get really rough, I have a tendency to categorize things very black and white. And so I basically shut down and become more rigid and become more defensive and protective of myself and the situation that I'm in. So I shut down a bit. And what I really could do with is more of a spaciousness around difficult experiences. So I want to give myself almost like, okay, there is an experience, and I want to have a flexibility and a spacious response to difficult experiences rather than a shutting down type response. And this has been very present for me lately. So what I want to invoke, what I want to put into this painting today is I want to give myself messages and guidance around difficult experiences that come up or problems that arise. So instead of just shutting everything down and becoming really shut down and closed off, I'd like to help myself become present in the moment of being presented with a difficult experience. So this is an example of something that I'm going to be trying to incorporate into this painting. Now, in your case, let me give a couple of other examples. You may want to set the intention to take a lot of rest over the next 2 weeks and find as much time as possible to gently spend time with yourself so that you can learn more about creativity and well-being or something along those lines. Or you may feel that it's time for you to shine your light more, and you really want to finally, let's say maybe you've been feeling fearful of sharing your artwork, and this is maybe the time that you think, actually going to share my artwork in the group. So you may want to set that intention. Now, whatever your intention is, or whatever whatever it is you're needing, or whatever you want to call in, think of a word or a couple of words or a quote or poetry or lyrics that may resonate with that, as we're going to incorporate that writing into the painting, probably on the body of the elephant somehow. Okay, so now for the rest of the session, I will be mostly time-lapsing the creation of the painting. But you'll have my guidance in the form of subtitles, and I may here and there comment on something that I really want to point out. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed this session, and I will be back after the creation of the painting. So here is our finished elephant, wise elephant lady page painting. A little bit of a close-up here. And you can see I've added the words allow space to her dress after I have earlier, and during the drawing time period, I wrote kind of a message from the wise elephant, or you could say my wise higher self, I suppose, in relation to the issue that I was describing earlier, which was about me having sort of a rigid defensive response towards difficult situations sometimes. So while I was creating this painting, I really ruminated on, or stayed present really to this idea of staying open and spacious in the face of difficulties and adversity. And what I like about doing this intentionally with an intentional sort of approach, so working on a particular issue, is that as you work on your painting and you ruminate on the kind of the message or your intention that you, if you will, the intention you have for the issue you have. So as you work on a painting in your mind, you go into some more of a trance-like state. The issue you're working on and your solution towards it, or your intention or surrounding it, will also likely seep into your subconscious mind more strongly, because you have relaxed your mind and you're in a kind of a, like I said, a meditative trance-like state, which therefore means that your entire being is likely going to be more able to implement the intention and solution that you have suggested to yourself. So it's quite for me personally, a very worthwhile way of working on a particular intention or a particular issue. First of all, setting the intention, connecting with it, and then creating a painting surrounding that has a positive intention around your issue. And then again, the writing as well reinforces what you want to achieve, or the goal you're setting, or the love you're giving yourself. And then you do not have to end with a word per se or a sentence, but I did feel like that this time. Sometimes I end up with words on the dress or in the background, or a quote or a lyric, or sometimes I just don't at all, but there has been a very intentional attempt at processing or sitting with or working on an issue. So I hope that makes sense, and I hope you enjoyed seeing this painting come to life. I very much look forward to seeing your work in the Facebook group. I hope you'll share, and I also hope you'll share perhaps how you're interpreting the well-being aspect of my sessions, or any of the sessions on the summit. It'd be very would be very wonderful for me to hear how that is for you, how that's helping you or supporting your well-being. Okay, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of the time of the summit. I'm so grateful that you are here. All right, much love.